How to speak professionally on the phone. If it's important to your career to sound professional over the phone in English, then it's worth investing some time and energy into it. What kind of maniac feels comfortable speaking on the phone these days? With the rise of texting, sending emails and direct messaging on social media, more and more of us are starting to feel nervous when their cell phone rings. This is even more true when you know the call is going to be in English, a language that you are still learning. If you have to make phone calls in English for work, but don't feel relaxed about it yet, then this guide can help. In short, the surest method for natural, confident, professional phone conversations is a little preparation. How to speak professionally on the phone, a step-by-step guide. If you know you are going to be ringing someone in a professional capacity soon and the call is important, then it's a good idea to aside half an hour to prepare. These steps will help you ensure you're as ready for that big conversation as you can be. 1. Write down what you want to talk about. Try to write some notes on what the call will be about, and what information you need to get from it. Just a few short sentences will do. Include whole phrases that you can use, and check them in Google Translate. Better yet, run them by a native English speaker, to make sure you're 100% confident in your translations. In the stress of the moment, it can be helpful to have these sentences to refer back to. This way, if you get confused, you have a strategy to help you return to what you wanted to say. 2. Rehearse the call beforehand. If your phone call is really important, it's a good idea to practice it with an English speaker before the real thing. If you are preparing for a telephone interview or a significant sales call with a client, it is certainly worthwhile to spend some time role-playing with an English native speaker. Even if the real conversation turns out to be totally different, it will be helpful to test out the vocabulary you had planned to use, and to get used to improvising conversation around this topic. 3. Start with some small talk. It's great to start any professional phone conversation with a little bit of small talk. This will make the person you are talking to feel comfortable, and start the call off in a friendly way. It will also ease you into more technical parts of the conversation. If you don't know the speaker very well, try phrases like,
"How are you doing today? How is the weather where you are? How is your week going?"
If you have met the speaker before, then you can be a little bit more personal and link the small talk to something you know about them. 4. State your purpose in calling clearly. After you have set a friendly tone for your call, it's time to get down to business. Be very clear with the reason for your call, and it will be easy to get the information you need. Try starting with one of these phrases.
"I am just calling to ask. I wondered if you could help me with something. Thanks for taking the time to speak with me. I have a question for you about."
5. Remember good manners. When learning a new language, most people prefer to speak in short, direct sentences so that they are more easily understood. This is a very good idea, and helps you avoid mistakes. However, such directness can sometimes seem rude over the phone. The speaker cannot see your friendly body language or warm smile as they would if they were talking to you face to face. There are a few easy ways to sound more polite on professional phone calls. To ask questions in a very polite way, use, could you, would you, please, plus simple verb plus. For instance,
Can you write that report?
sounds less formal than.
Could you please write that report?
If it feels appropriate, remember to thank the speaker for talking to you. Be sure to conclude with a friendly sentence that rounds the conversation off, as you would a letter. This could be something like,
I hope you have a good weekend. I'm looking forward to working with you again soon. It's been great to hear your perspective. I hope you have a productive afternoon.
6. Focus on pronouncing your words clearly. We all know someone who has a special telephone voice and changes their accent dramatically for telephone conversations. Changing your voice entirely for phone conversations is, of course, not necessary, but it is important to speak clearly. If you need to spell things out over the phone, the name of a specific product or client, for example, it can be useful to use the NATO phonetic alphabet. This is a commonly used set of words developed for clear communication on search and rescue helicopter missions. To spell things out, you substitute each letter for its NATO word. For example, dog would become D for Delta, O for Oscar, G for Golf. 7. Try to listen as much as you talk. So, you are really focusing on producing grammatically correct sentences in a new language, watching your accent and making an effort to seem polite. It might be easy to forget the most important rule of any good conversation: listen as much as you talk. You can show that you are listening by cutting into the conversation with some signifiers such as,
That's interesting. Good point. I understand. Yes. Okay.
If the speaker asks a question and you aren't sure how to reply, try to see if there are any clues within the vocabulary of the question itself. For instance, what are the benefits of switching to your product?
The benefits of switching to our product are.
If you need the speaker to repeat something, it's perfectly fine to ask them to go over a point. You can ask,
Sorry, could you repeat that, please? I got cut off for a second. Could you say that again a little more slowly, please? What exactly do you mean by that? If you need them to phrase a question more clearly.
If the conversation is fairly long, it's a good idea to have a notebook and to take some short notes on what the speaker is saying. This will help you remember to ask any follow-up questions that you need. 8. Control your surroundings if possible. If you are able to, make sure that you are in a private and quiet place with good signal during any important phone call. Speaking in a second language on the phone is hard enough, without technical issues distracting you. If possible, avoid using speakerphone. A headset is a better option if you need to be hands-free. If you are making your call while working in an open-plan office, try to book a meeting room so that you have somewhere private to talk where you will not be distracted or feel embarrassed. 10 English phrasal verbs to use when speaking on the phone. Another way to improve your professional telephone skills is to learn a few relevant phrasal verbs. Here are 10 that you're very likely to hear. 1. Hold on.
Could you hold on a moment, please?
This means, please pause what you are saying, but do not leave the call. In spoken English, sometimes the on is missed out, as in the phrase, could you hold, please? Many mobile phones and landlines have a button to put someone on hold, to pause the call, but to keep the speaker connected. 2. Put a call through.
I'm just going to put you through right now.
This means to connect a person with the person whom they called to speak to. If you ring a customer service helpline, the first person you speak to might put you through to a representative from a relevant department to deal with your problem. 3. Call back.
I'll ask her to call you back when she gets home.
This is a very common phrase, which means to phone a person who already phoned you. You can also request a call back if the person you plan to talk to is not available. 4. Pick up.
No one is picking up. Maybe they're not home.
This phrasal verb simply means to answer the telephone. It comes from landline phones, which are often connected to holders, and so must be picked up from their usual places. 5. Speak up.
I'm afraid I can't hear you, there's some background noise. Could you speak up, please?
This phrasal verb means to speak louder. It's useful if the phone line is crackly. 6. Cut off.
I can't hear her anymore. I think we got cut off.
This means that a telephone conversation ended unexpectedly due to technical problems. 7. Break up.
Could you repeat that? You broke up for a second.
When a speaker breaks up, it means they cannot be heard clearly due to problems with the connection. 8. Switch off. Turn off.
My phone was switched off because the battery had died.
This means to deactivate or to stop something from working. 9. Ring off.
We talked for an hour and then I rang off.
This verb means to end a call. It is only used in the US and Canada, and is quite old-fashioned. 10. Hang up the phone.
He was so angry that he hung up on me.
To hang up the phone is to end the call. It's a very common verb that you are likely to hear. Be careful not to confuse hang up with a hang on. To hang on is to stay on a call. It is often used instead of a hold on. Take your phone speaking skills to the next level with Preply. The tips and vocabulary described above are all fairly simple, but it can still take time to draw them all together in a way that feels natural. The fastest way to feel confident on professional phone calls? Practice. You could either look into one of the many English conversation courses available, or practice directly with a native English tutor to rehearse business phone calls. With them, you can discuss common situations and phrases, and they can let you know where you are going wrong. By practicing your telephone skills with an expert tutor, you can make your speaking mistakes in a safe situation, and be confident of your skills when it comes to the real thing. With practice and expert advice, you will soon be able to communicate like the professional you are.